I'm about to say a hot take, so take a seat if you need to, but Corrin is so interesting. After years of being considered one of the most underwhelming and forgettable characters in the game, not to me, I played Fates, and being easily outclassed by other stories like Lucina or Roy by far, we've now gotten to a point where almost half of the players in Genesis 10's top 8 used Corrin. Having that much representation in the biggest major tournament of the year is a huge deal, and it shows because we have a new tier list now with them ranked higher than my main. Okay, so when I say save Smash Ultimate's meta, what exactly do I mean by that? Does the game really need saving? Yeah, it kinda does.
Not enough. And everyone getting very excited.
Very excited about it. Very excited.
Smash Ultimate is in a tight spot right now. People say the game is dying, viewership is kinda low, and right now we're in what has been named the Four Horsemen era of Smash Bros. Ultimate, with Akola, Sonics, Mia, and Spargo dominating majors. And like, alright, what are these guys supposed to do? Stop going to tournaments? No, I don't see a problem with them winning everything at all. The issue is mainly in the characters they main and the deplorable playstyles they have indirectly and probably unintentionally encouraged as the way to perform better in Smash. Except for Spargo, you're good, you're only in the Four Horsemen because you're keeping up with them, but there's no way your Cloud is problematic. It's Steve, Sonic, and Game & Watch, on the other hand, that and like, as for these three, no hate to them, obviously. I don't feel comfortable trashing on people on my videos, especially if I don't know any of them personally. Like, they are playing optimally. As pro Smash players, it is kind of their job to perform well, I guess. And also, no hate to anyone watching this video who mains Steve, Sonic, or Game & Watch. If you're having fun with your character, then you're playing the game right. I'm not trying to like talk down on you because you're a main or something. Like, that's not what this video is gonna be. But you gotta realize that your character's main weakness is getting asked for a rematch. So they're an interesting bunch to talk about. And by interesting, I of course mean it was interesting when Hungrybox contemplated banning Sonic from the coin box. Not for being overpowered or anything, but because people got bored and viewership dropped significantly when it was Sonic's turn to play. So that's another huge thing. It's not only that people are becoming less and less motivated to compete because the meta revolves around some of the most annoying characters to fight against, but even viewers are getting bored because these three are just not interesting to watch a lot of the time. Players and spectators, that's pretty much everyone. So thank God someone figured out one character in your back pocket could theoretically handle all of them before it was too late. Corrin right now is generally agreed upon to be a pretty good character, sitting in the low to mid high tiers of many people's rankings, but this wasn't always the case. I mentioned at the start of this video that the character was generally super overlooked and ignored by most players, and that's because they actually did suck at some point, but they ended up being the character that received the most buffs over the course of Ultimate's patch notes throughout the years. The buffs added up little by little and ended up with them having way better frame data and kill power than when Ultimate had come out, with important moves like pin, up air, forward smash, and nair being significantly buffed, along with a bunch of other moves. Their combination of power, disjoints, frame data, and other minor silliness like some moves having a lot of random priority over certain moves or back air's extra safety has allowed Corrin to secure a nice little niche as an anti-meta pick. What does this mean? It means they're not necessarily a top tier by themselves, but they do well against Ultimate's top threats right now. If you struggle against Sonic, Steve, or Game & Watch, here's a counter pick, I guess. Maybe. But before I start, just want to clear up that I'm not saying like, hey, let's all pick up Corrin to screw with these guys. Like, I'm kind of just interested in how exactly they could stand their ground against Sonic, Steve, and Game & Watch. And for the record, I don't think the Feet Dragon is a top character. I think A tier is appropriate. But right now, we're just seeing them a lot more because of their strengths against these three. Also, as a final note before I start, this isn't detailed matchup advice. This isn't a guide. I don't know any of these characters well enough for this to be an actual like, hey guys, this is how you beat Game & Watch as Corrin. Like, I'm just going over the matchups in a more general sense. Like, just because I'm curious about the character and I want to see why they do so well here, because that is kind of why we've all been seeing them a lot more recently. And if you made Corrin or one of these three, feel free to add things or correct me in the comments if I make any mistakes, because this video is going to be a lot more casual than you might expect. Corrin Game & Watch is probably the most tame out of these three, with the matchup chart Neo and Shattuck made together listing them as an even matchup as of June 2023. But then a more recent one by Neo and Lai that was shared in the Corrin Discord server in October of that year did list him as one with a slight advantage, so let's get into why. Also, by the way, Neo and Shattuck are two of the best Corrin players out there. Both of them made it into Genesis 10's top 8. It's a shame they had to fight each other so early into the final bracket, because who knows how far Shattuck could have made it if he had the chance to fight some of the others who were left, but It is what it is. Both of them played super well, and this set was super good and went to game 5, but alright, let's go. Yeah, so according to the Corrins of the world, this matchup here is mostly even, but if anything, it's a little in favor of Corrin. As a classic midweight swordy, this guy is kind of a generalist, which means they have a lot of good, mostly honest strengths, and their weaknesses are there, but they're not as drastic or pronounced as something like, I don't know, Luigi's airspeed or ground recovery or whatever. This sets the tone for the rest of the matchups too. We'll get to that in a bit, but for now, disjoints help Game & Watches have to be a little more careful with their spacing, because Corrin is just really good at spacing out his combo starters like Nair, Fair, and Grab. It also makes up out of shield riskier. You can counter downers, which will send him back above you, sometimes for the kill, because this thing is light and because counter hits both sides around them and sends you up, and has a good enough multiplier, especially if you counter closer to the top blast zone. But watch out, because this move has like no lag and he can move left or right while using it, but you can still punish it if you block it, and a lot of Game & Watches have a really bad habit of doing it. Corrin has good combos and strings, but the thing with Game & Watch is that he has this disgusting move that comes out insanely fast, so if your string is at least a little loose, he will get out of there. But again, thanks to this big long sword, you won't always get hit by the up B hitbox and can punish him for it. Not all the time though, this move is kind of big too. Game & Watch's punishes are pretty insane, especially because he has a really good out of shield game, so good Corrins can play keeping this in mind and bait out his up B as you approach or during a string and evade the combo starters I mentioned earlier like Nair and Grab. Pin is also really good for punishing his approaches, and if he shields it, you can dash away if you react in time, effectively getting rid of said amazing out of shield game if you're quick. Also, with one of the best up airs in the game, Corrin is amazing at juggling, so you can do that after he whiffs up beyond you, but watch out for downer because they'll do that like 90% of the time until you punish it enough for them to probably mix it up eventually. Alright, I keep talking shit about Game & Watches being really annoying and predictable, but I really want to give a pass to Meister. Not like a pass from a channel with under 2,000 subscribers matters a lot, but he plays Game & Watch like no one else does. I think Meister and Game & Watch are the best examples of a top player who isn't carried by their mate, because he's believed in Game & Watch since way back when people thought this character sucked, and he's stuck with him through all of it. Like, that's just a beautiful little bit of Smash Ultimate lore that I really don't want to spoil with a video talking about how annoying his main can be to fight. But back to the matchup, it's basically like Corrin has the tools to evade Game & Watch's bullshit, but you do have to be patient and play it right if you want to make the most of it. Like pretty much every matchup in this video, it requires a lot of patience, but I mean, it's only 7 minutes, man. Game & Watch is lame, but he's probably not gonna time you out. The Corrin Sonic matchup is basically how I got my idea for this video, because this guy is very clearly a counter pick for him. It was pretty clear already, but like check out Genesis 10's bracket, right? We have Sonics and Ken, the two best Sonic players in Ultimate right now, and they had to fight a lot of Corrins. Ken loses to Spargo in winners and then to Neo in losers. Sonics did a lot better. He only lost to Zamba's Rob, but check this out. He loses to Zamba in winners and then fights 2 more Corrins to get back to finals. Of course, he won these 2 sets, and I'll be fair here, he played them really well. Like credit where credit is due, he played those sets out of his mind. Nice job, man. But regardless on whether or not he won, it's pretty clear that people know Corrin is the answer to Sonic. At least Spargo does, because he doesn't main this character. At Genesis, he only used them as a Sonic counter pick alone, and this is also true in the recent King Con in Paris. He didn't use them at all there, and look at that, no Sonic in sight. Whoa. As for Neo and Shattuck, like they do main Corrin, so I can't really call their sets against Sonic's a counter pick, because I mean, what else are they gonna do? Not pick their main? I don't know, but it looks like everybody knows that Sonic struggles against this character, and I wanted to figure out why. This one was interesting because I made Lucina, and Sonic is a really ass matchup for me, and like that makes sense, except I look into why exactly Corrin beats Sonic and I don't, and it's literally things Martha and Lucina can do, if not better, except up B doesn't beat Spring, and a few other things. So now I know why. It makes a lot of sense. Here it is. Alright, Corrin mainly does well because they have really good area control, meaning Sonic can't fly around the stage for free because he's vulnerable to being anti-aired thanks to our quick and long aerials and tilts, and that's like the only thing Corrin and Lucina share. From here on is where we get to the things Lucina can't do, which is threaten low recoveries with pin, evade or get through Spring at the ledge better, and Corrin's also better at evading Sonic's low edge guards. Also, their air game is stronger because like I mentioned with Game & Watch, up air is insane, but also down tilt and up tilt set up for good juggles, and Sonic can't downer for free to escape it all the time. Sonic just has to be really careful not to end up in disadvantage against this character because they can lose a lot from these interactions, and Corrin is just really good at putting people in disadvantage and maintaining it safely. But again, these three share the trait of greatly benefiting off people getting impatient, so remember this matchup still isn't free. Like Sonic can still destroy you if you're whiffing a bunch of stuff on him. This being one of Sonic's worst matchups mostly comes from the fact that not just any Corrin, but a patient Corrin can get a lot from a good interaction against him. He's still a top tier and you should still treat him like a top tier, but with Corrin you do have the tools to keep yourself out of his range but keep him inside yours. Steve is interesting because everyone sort of has the same game plan as to how to beat him, and that is try to prevent him from walling himself off, watch out for minecart, watch out for anvil, don't whiff, anything, and give him the least amount of time to mine as possible because Steve is kind of ass without blocks or iron. Aan's tier list shows Corrin as an even matchup as of 2023, so does DD's, but in the Corrin Discord server, public opinion seems to be that they do have the tools to handle Steve, and like with Sonic and Game & Watch, this mainly comes from the fact that they can mostly afford to be patient against Steve. Like last time, impatient Corrins will struggle, patient ones will do better. Back here is great at breaking blocks because of the movement back here gives you, making it extra safe from Steve trying to punish you for breaking them. Steve is also really good at reversing advantage states, but Corrin's pressure game is pretty safe, making it harder for him to do so. Also because a lot of this guy's moves just have priority over Steve's for some reason, like up air beats anvil, downer clanks with up smash, and landing a string hit can lead to good strings that make it so Steve will struggle with escaping disadvantage if he doesn't have iron or blocks. Also, with big and fast aerials, reacting to minecart becomes a lot easier. Without blocks or iron, Steve has a miserable disadvantage, and Corrin's juggles and pressure are too much and too safe for him to deal with. But remember that this is still the best character in the game. He still has the tools to handle you, so it's not always easy to get him in this situation, and if you're not careful, you can take insane damage or just die, no matter how even the matchup theoretically is. But like with Sonic and Game & Watch, what gives Corrin the edge here is that they can mostly afford to safely pressure their opponent's shield if they're patient enough. In the end, the meta revolving around these three is that they can punish you really well, they have really effective ways of making you want to approach them, really effective punishes for whiffed approaches, and then whenever you actually manage to get in, they also have really effective ways to get you away from them to make you have to start the approach game all over again. It's really annoying, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think it's really annoying to fight these three, and I'm sure most of you do too, but like, who cares? It's just the way it is. I'm just the messenger. Again, no hate to anyone behind these characters. I may consider these playstyles problematic and unhealthy for the game's community, but like, I really only made this video because the recent rise of Corrin in terms of relevancy was super interesting to me. I don't really care about these three, if I'm being honest. I just wanted to see what the deal was with this guy. If you main Sonic, Steve, or Game & Watch, you are playing a character that is in the game, so it is kind of up to everyone else to adapt and figure out a way to deal with them. The ball is entirely in our court. I don't think they should be banned or whatever unless it's like a change in the rule set or like whoever causes a timeout loses the game or something, but that's a topic for another video. And by the way, if you're watching this and I have you all riled up and ready to hate on a player you know plays one of these guys, like, okay, hold on. Don't do that. It's okay to complain, but just make sure you hate on the character and not the player. They might play characters no one likes to play against, but I do believe the people ruling the global leaderboards right now did earn their spots, and this video wasn't meant to say that they didn't. Aquila, Mia, and Sonics are goddamn nice with it. They're just playing the game, man. Let them play the game. You could quietly judge them and think less of their degenerate playstyle if you want to, but like, come on, don't be a dick. In a competitive setting, people play to win, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Give it up for Zombie!
If you're someone who's taking this game seriously, competing and trying to win, that's awesome. I wish you the best. Yeah, even if you main Sonic, I guess. Nah, I mean, do I? No, I do. It's, but like, no,